Up next on The Bottom Line, a group of county middle schoolers win a national app challenge. We'll talk with a county resident who, as a network news cameraman, captured one of this country's most memorable events. And a major nonprofit celebrates 25 years of good work. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Susan Kennedy. Autism is estimated to affect more than 22 million people worldwide. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder that affects social interaction, behavior, and communication. The symptoms are present from early childhood, and functioning can be affected on a daily basis. But there's a group of young Montgomery County middle school students who have taken a big step in helping kids with autism.
One of this chest stuff on here.
Ashana Subramanian saw the struggles her parents face keeping her 9-year-old sister on task. Meghana is autistic, and to her, routine is important.
My parents, they had trouble managing my sister's daily routine, keeping her motivated to do tasks. My sister had trouble transitioning from task to task because if she doesn't have a finished schedule laid out for her, she doesn't know what's coming next and she can't transition to that task.
So, Ashana and a group of her middle school peers decided to compete in the Verizon Innovative App Challenge, which challenges student teams across the country to come up with ideas for apps that could solve a problem in their school or community.
So I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to think of an idea for an app that could solve some of these problems. And so I wrote down a basic structure for Buddy.
Our future is solid. Right behind me stands the beginning of a new era of children who understand how important it is to continue to give back to our community.
The group of 6 students from 3 county middle schools were recently recognized by Craig Rice for winning Best in the Nation for the Verizon Challenge for their mobile app, Buddy.
When they had the opportunity to design any kind of app, they thought about kids who needed it most.
They are part of the Adventure in Science Club, a Maryland-based group that promotes science and technology education.
This is a very important day in all of our lives, and I know that all of us are going to remember this forever.
Children with autism face a number of challenges in their school, home, and in their community.
The app can be customized to allow parents and teachers to communicate in real time, along with other functions to help children on the spectrum stay on target with day-to-day activities and better express their feelings.
At our first meeting, we were each asked to propose an idea that the whole team could build on. So some ideas that came in were about seizures and bullying, but when the idea about helping autism communities was put on the table, everyone just dropped their ideas and joined this one because everyone felt that this idea would benefit our community the most.
We worked really hard and we always wanted to be positive. We didn't want to be negative on, okay, oh no, I'm gonna lose. We didn't want to think that. We always thought positive, and now we're really happy and we're striving to build the app.
I really thought this was an amazing idea because we all had personal experiences from our school. Like, I've seen many kids suffering with ASD in my school and they just can't manage their routines. So I thought this would be an amazing opportunity to help those children.
The team meets each Saturday at Johns Hopkins University and weekly at Rocky Hill Middle School to brainstorm ideas.
Even if you develop it with this table here and the table below it.
Recently, a developer from MIT was on hand to help the students develop their concept into a real working app.
There's a Z-axis, yeah? And I have that today to show you also.
These kids are really outstanding with their motivation and their passion and their dedication. Usually when I come to a group, I have some work established and some of a workflow established, but seeing what these students have already programmed is way beyond my expectations and well beyond their years.
So on quick memo itself, they probably used a different language.
So it's structured really in 3 modes: child mode, parent mode, and teacher mode. So then those 3 modes are interlocked, they're interchangeable, so that the parent, teacher, and child can communicate efficiently.
We added reward systems, and then we added all sorts of different ideas that come together and that would build the structure for the base of Art Buddy, and we had a really good experience working together so that we can learn teamwork and collaboration.
I was able to offer my experiences and the problems so we could talk about those problems and effective solutions. Like, for example, my sister, as I mentioned earlier, she has trouble transitioning from task to task, and she'll throw tantrums if she doesn't want to do something. So that's where the idea of the motivational reward system came in.
We try to connect the current STEM curriculum to the latest practical things that are happening in the industry. We do have volunteers coming from NIST, FDA, NIH, and other research organizations. They dedicate their time, and they give their time to bring the kids closer to the practical life.
There is no denying the sky's the limit for each one of these extraordinary 11-year-olds. Most of them have plans to go on to an Ivy League school
like Harvard
and study either science or medicine.
I want to become a biomedical scientist,
neuroscientist.
But for now, they are satisfied with making a difference in the lives of kids everywhere.
We feel really amazed. I mean, not just in resemblance to getting the prizes, but obtaining that gratitude that we are solving a big problem in our community.
With Art Buddy, learning never stops.
There are not too many people who have had a 50-year career as storied as Shelley Fielman. This Olney resident has witnessed some of the biggest events in our history as a White House cameraman for NBC News. In this FaceTime interview, he shared some of those most memorable moments in his career with us.
Well, it was supposed to be an easy day.
If you tell Shelley Fielman it's going to be an easy day on the job, he won't believe you.
Not very many people have a wall like this. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
My wall of horror or wall of fame, I don't know what you want to call it.
This Olney resident retired just 4 years ago after 50 years as a cameraman for NBC. His first day on the job was the day President Kennedy was shot. He was sent to Dallas to cover the story, and on his third day, Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald.
We were supposed to go to the jailhouse garage. They were going to bring Oswald out, and they obviously wanted us to get pictures of him. NBC had the big studio cameras with Tom Pettit.
To Dallas, Texas, and Tom Pettit.
We were sort of in the back of the garage, maybe 30, 40 feet from where they were going to bring Oswald out. And they brought him out. Ruby just came right out of that group. He had a press pass. It sounds corny, but people put press passes in their hats at that time. And he had one in his hat. And he just came out and shot Oswald. Everybody backed up, and I'm standing there saying, what the hell is going on here? What kind of business did I just get into?
After that memorable day, Fielman covered civil rights, traveling with his colleagues to Americus, Georgia, to cover a Ku Klux Klan rally where they were told to get out of town by a local waitress who refused to serve them.
We were chased out of more states than I can probably name.
He spent 4 months in Vietnam and considered himself officially indoctrinated into the news business. But nothing could prepare him for March of 1981, the day President Reagan was shot.
Now, that day was supposedly going to be what I called a piece of cake. My regular audio partner called in sick, and they took a guy out of 2-inch tape out of the studio who wanted to be outside. And he said, well, what's the day going to be like? I said, well, we're going to get the president coming in. We'll wait here. We'll get him going out. We'll go get some Mexican food. I was close to the wall of the Hilton, about 3 feet, and Hinckley was right next to me, between me and the wall of the Hilton. We're all standing there joking, and then they said the president's coming out, and the president came out. It just happened so fast, and all of a sudden there was a pop. I knew I had to stay on the president, and everybody in front of me, it was like a bad movie on a 2-inch screen. I got 2 hands holding the gun. And Hinckley unloaded that revolver. And next, the press secretary went down. The Secret Service agent jumped in front of the president. I took 1 step out and turned, and I just prayed that that lens could go as wide as it can go, because I knew whoever was shooting was close to me.
Fielman's steady pictures of the shooting are part of this country's evidence of that attempt on the president's life.
Here's your Emmy. Wow.
He would go on to win an Emmy for that footage and was a special guest of Ronald Reagan at the White House after he was released from the hospital.
So he knew who you were.
He knew who I was. He invited me into the Oval Office to congratulate me.
As a network news cameraman, Fielman had the opportunity to spend time with Hubert Humphrey while he was campaigning for president.
He rode the press plane, and he loved a good poker game.
There were several other presidents he got to know as well, including Jimmy Carter. They played softball together and was known to be competitive.
Not a very good sportsman.
He also covered Lyndon B. Johnson.
He was quite rough. We were down in Texas covering him, and we were all invited to come to the ranch to have a little barbecue. And we went there, and I was sitting on his split rail fence, which surrounded just the house. And all of a sudden, we heard this deep Texas drawl saying, "Get your asses off my fence." And I don't know why, but I sat there, and he came right up to my face, and he said, "Boy, you ever been in the Army?" And I says, "No, sir, Mr. President, I was in the Air Force." He says, "Well, if you don't get your ass off my fence, tomorrow you're going to be in the Army."
Not only did Fielman spend time in Vietnam, he also covered the Gulf War. He tells us though he knew his work could be dangerous at times, he loved it. And there's no question that his passion was the driving force behind his success.
The Iraqis were shooting at us, and the Marines were poking holes in the wall. This Marine colonel who was guiding me said, "You got to get back, you're going to get shot." And I says, "Well, they don't see me now, and I got to get these pictures somehow."
Last night, there was a gathering in Washington to mark the retirement of Shelley Fielman after 50 years with NBC as a cameraman.
Shelley Fielman is a legendary visual storyteller. He has been on the front line of so many big news stories from all over the world. A real-life story that plays out like a Hollywood movie.
You know, they said there was that old show, the old detective show, "There's a Million Stories in the Big City." There's a million stories in me.
This year, Rebuilding Together Montgomery County celebrates 25 years of restoring homes for families in need. Through their partnerships within the private and public sector, this organization has enabled thousands of vulnerable residents remain in safe, stable homes. Recently, a host of county officials participated in a breakfast event celebrating this milestone.
We want to thank each of you for being here with us this morning to celebrate 25 years of restoring the feeling of home to thousands of residents across Montgomery County.
Montgomery County Council President Nancy Florine was on hand to give out awards to volunteers and donors.
What you do is truly extraordinary. To see the homes that you all fix and support, to see the families within those homes whose lives you're changing, is to see a world that many Montgomery County residents know nothing about.
I cried myself to sleep at night, unsure of what the next day would bring. That neighbor of mine, a Navy man who had once needed repairs to his own home, had shared with me the name of an organization he'd been able to get help from a few years back. And that name of the organization was Rebuilding Together, Montgomery County. When I called, Rebuilding Together answered with compassion, with care, and with understanding. You, all of you, saved our lives. I wholeheartedly believe that. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you very much.
Well, if you'd rather not tangle with the crowds at the Tidal Basin, you might want to check out the Bethesda neighborhood of Kenwood. It transforms into a world of soft pink and white puffs as the neighborhood's cherry blossom trees come into full bloom. We leave you with our Montgomery moment for this week, scenes of those beautiful trees that are in full bloom. I'm Susan Kennedy. Thanks for watching.